Good afternoon. It's still morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Havering Means Business Does Lunch. As usual, I'm your host, Chris. Hope you've had a really, really good week. We've got a few people coming into the waiting room now that Russ is going to let in as we go on, and then we can start the conversation. And the first person in is... who's going to win? It's Fiona. Hello, Fiona. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Now, what I like to do is start the Friday meetings with a bit of non-business talk. And I've just had my boiler go wrong, and we had to get somebody to fix the boiler. And we had a really good chat about travel. So the question that I'm going to ask, non-business related, where's the first place you're going to go when this is all over?
I'm going to go to probably America because my husband and me, we had our 25th wedding anniversary last year, which we obviously missed going away for. This year we were going to reschedule it. I don't think that's going to happen now. So next year, what we did have was a Route 66 journey planned.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And I was so looking forward to it. But yeah, that's where I'm going to be going. So, and I think probably for me as well, a little trip to Yosemite.
Sounds amazing. Where are you going to start and finish your journey if you do Route 66?
Well, actually, I want to finish in Las Vegas because I've never been to Las Vegas. And it's just so up my street, so tacky. It's so... You know what?
I mean, I've been to Las Vegas twice, and it is tacky, but you've got to just embrace it. I think if you're there.
I love tacky.
And I the last time I went, I got married in Las Vegas.
Amazing!
In Las Vegas. Yeah, it was that tacky. I also went on a boys' trip, and when we went on the boys' trip, I saw Tom Jones at the MGM at Las Vegas, and it's the cheesiest evening of my life, but it was absolutely amazing.
No, it sounds brilliant.
Yeah, so I'm sure you love it. Carol, where's the first place you're going to go? How are you, by the way? And where's the first place you're going to go when this is all over?
I'm all good. Yeah. Hi, everybody. First, it's going to be getting ourselves around in this country, just see all the family and friends that we haven't been able to see for just so long. Like my mum and my sister are in Gloucester, that's where I'm from, so just can't wait to be getting ourselves down there. Obviously we were meant to be there at Christmas and couldn't go, and then things like all friends and friends with kids the same sort of age as our kids, and we just literally, it's been over a year now, and there's Zoom, isn't there? And it's not the same, but yeah, I might be coming to America with you then, Fiona, because I'm really hankering after, just so want to take the kids to New York and do all, just as much as we can in America. So, I just want it all, really.
Yeah, but you know what? Some of it, I mean, because Cassie's mum and dad are up in Arbroath and he goes to Scotland, I think that's going to be our first trip. As soon as we get the chance to get up there, because they're both in their sort of 70s, healthy, but you want to make sure you spend the time, don't you? And that's the important thing. Yeah. Thanks, Carol. Appreciate that. Steve, so first question is, how are you? Second question is, when you can actually have a honeymoon with Sam, where are you going to take her?
I'm not too bad, thank you. Been a long week, but it's been good, keeping busy. In regards to honeymoon, I think depends what day of the week, depends on where she wants to go. We did have aspirations of going to sort of the Italian coast for our honeymoon, but obviously I think it was Italy at the time was the first place it was really hit. So and then she also mentioned going to South Africa, but I don't think that's a particularly wise place to go to for the moment either because of the COVID variant. But I think we're probably going to be doing like most people, just sticking to the UK for the short term, and then hopefully being able to fly further afield later in the year.
I mean, we managed to get up to lakes in the summer, and that was amazing. And it's one of those things where I never would have gone. I would have normally jumped on a plane, but just experiencing that was pretty good. Apart from when Sophie took me kayaking on Lake Windermere in the pouring of rain, literally, it was just pouring.
Did you try the Eskimo roll, Dodo?
No, mate. Definitely not. It's been many years since I've done an Eskimo roll. We stayed pretty out. But the thing is, it was pouring the rain, and I was trying to gently encourage Sophie to go. Look, are you sure you want to do this? Definitely, Dad. Definitely. You sure you want to do this? Definitely. Like, oh yeah. But anyway, we got out there, and it doesn't matter. Then you're wet, aren't you? It's all good. But all good. Ian, how are you? And travel plans when this is all sorted?
I'm really well, actually. Been looking at the snow out the window, so that's been all very pretty this week, hasn't it? Where to go? Well, I'm the man with the camper van, so I have camper van will travel. Where can't I?
Oh, cool.
So yeah, probably we did try and get into the New Forest in September with the camper van. Last year, and that didn't happen. So that might be one of the first place we go. But you mentioned the lakes, Chris. I love the lakes. It is one of my go-to places.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and it's the first time I've been up there, Ian. I think like we're gonna make that a regular trip now. It's definitely worth doing. Christine, how are you? And travel plans? Talk to me about that.
Hello, I am fine, thank you. My good news for this week, I'm going to give a bit of good news, is that I spoke to the ladies last night about this, is that I have done now my 5 days of yoga in a row. So I'm back to doing some exercise, so rather just sitting here spreading.
Well, I've been hibernating this week exercise-wise, so the snow meant that I haven't been running as I should have done, and I know that Carol and Nick are big runners, and this is just not good news, is it? But the good news is I did a 7K this morning, so I'm back out there. I was layered up. It was a bit cold, but I managed to get out there. So what are you doing? Are you doing like sort of YouTube yoga, or are you part of a Zoom class? Or
no, YouTube yoga. So it's a guy that Tracy recommended. And he does a 30-minute gentle flow. So I thought I'll start with a gentle yoga to start with. But noticing, I can stretch a little bit further in some of the poses this week. So I'm happy about that.
You know what? I don't do enough flexibility exercise training. It's just like not part of my routine. So yeah, I need to look at that. How about travel? What are your thoughts on travel?
Travel, well, I'm half Spanish, so we've got property in Spain. So always happy to go there at a drop of a hat. But like lots of people last year, we did travelling around the UK, went up to the Norfolk Broads and also onto the Norfolk coast and down to Hastings. So I did all right for holidays last year. So
well, you know what?
This year.
Well, the interesting thing, like between lockdown 2 and lockdown 3, and I can't, Cassie will know because she's on the call, but I can't remember the name of the beach. But there's a beach where on the Norfolk coast where all of the seals go to give birth. And it's amazing just looking at all these seals come in, and it's beautiful up there. So yeah, Norfolk sounds good. Kevin, how are you, mate?
I'm very well indeed, thanks, Chris. Very well indeed. Places to visit. The desired place would be West Indies and Antigua or whatever, but realistically, be Scotland this year, Inverness and Lochard.
Ah, sounds good. Yeah,
I've been part there last year. Very good indeed. Haven't been up there for 20 years. Very pleasant.
It's funny. I took on a new client yesterday, and we were talking about Scottish beaches. And there's a place where Cassie's mum and dad live. They live in Arbroath, and there's a little beach there called Lunan Bay. You've got to go over a hump, like go over a sand dune to get there. It's like really sort of desolate, beautiful, really nice up there.
Just like North East, and stunning beaches around.
Yeah,
the nature of Sunderland, Newcastle, whatever, but. You'll be brave going to see there, mate. But,
I did. I mean, a few years ago, I did a couple of Great North runs, and it finishes on South Shields Beach. It's not warm, mate. October.
You tried 2 or 3 in the morning, mate. After a late night round tabling, it was not.
Well, yeah. I was going to say, what are you doing on South Shields Beach at 3 in the morning? But I know some of the nights out you.
Oh no, that's right. Well, round table. We weren't on the beach, but we were on top of the cliffs there, and it's
amazing. Good stuff. Cheers, Kev. Appreciate that. Simon, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Nice to see you all. Yeah, when the lockdown's finished, I think anywhere hot, safe, and relatively short flying distance would be desirable.
And where is on your aspiration list? Where are you thinking that might be?
Probably. We've got friends in Cyprus, so we know that rather than being in the midst of it, but probably too old for the clubbing part of the country.
You disappoint me, Simon. Honestly, I thought you were still out there.
Well, that's another story, and that's probably another Zoom call that isn't this one. But yeah, I think probably somewhere like that. But I think it's unfortunately it's going to be a little bit of time before that's going to happen.
Yeah, it might be UK trip before we do the.
Well, it might be or a virtual one, you know.
Eventually.
Yeah, bearing in mind the old 80s sci-fi films, might get me goggles on and
yeah, a bit of VR
and see where we go. Yeah.
Bit of VR, yeah, that sounds good. There are some things on the web where you can do virtual trip somewhere, and it's not the same, is it? But we'll get there. Judy Bell, how are you?
Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. It's been an interesting week, but yeah, it's been good. My first place to go once we're allowed to travel anywhere is nowhere exotic. It is to Florida, because my friends that lived in New Jersey have now moved to Florida. They've bought a house on the beach. Beautiful, beautiful house. So I'm desperate to go out and see them now, because I normally go to them once a year and they come to me once a year, but obviously that's not happened last year.
Yeah, so to see, and that's the thing, isn't it? Like, sort of, I suppose one of the sort of major negatives is just not seeing the people you love and like in this period, and that's been difficult.
They're friends, they're really like family. You know, we've known them so long, like 30 odd years, and
so how long have you been doing that sort of you come to me and I'll go to you trip?
About 28 years.
Right. Okay.
In fact, the last time I saw them, they came over for my daughter's wedding, which was January 20.
Okay. Okay.
And then the COVID really kicked off, and
yeah. Well, hopefully we can start planning soon to get back to it.
Or just to get out of the house, Chris. Really, let's just be honest. I mean, I got excited putting the rubbish out yesterday, Wednesday morning.
You know what the problem is, Julie? I'm so desperate to actually speak to people in real life that I'm just smiling at people when I'm going out for a run. And to be frank, some people are up for that, but there's others who go, "Who's this weirdo?" looking at me and smiling and nodding. But yeah, we'll see. Phil, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. How are you all?
Good. Yeah, very good, thank you. And how's the plans for your first trip post-COVID? Like, what are you thinking about?
Well, we our first trip post-COVID will probably be our 2019 holiday. Or 2019? Well, yeah, 2019, because our last holiday we put off till this year. We managed to put it onto this year, and now we thought, oh, in a year's time, surely by the summer in 2021 we'll be fine. But it looks like we're in the process of trying to push that back another year. So and that's Portugal. So yeah, we really quite like Portugal.
We pushed our 2020 trip back to 2021. We had a sort of Lake Garda trip planned, and I think we're going to need to push that back as well, because early August. Don't know if it's going to happen yet.
Yeah, we are basically the same. So sort of very end of July, early August. So we're one of our flights. I think the return flight's been cancelled or been changed. So they're kind of giving us an opening to actually cancel the flights and get a refund.
Okay.
And because we can get a refund on the flight, we think it probably just makes sense, because we pushed the villa back a year. We should be able to do the same thing. Yeah. So hopefully we won't be having the same conversation in 2022.
Fingers crossed. I haven't booked our flights yet because I was just trying to keep the powder dry, and I think everybody's in the same boat, aren't they? Yeah. And we've got a speaker today, Nick. Nick, tell me how you are and what's going on in your world travel-wise. What are you thinking?
No, I'm great. Thank you very much. I'm with Julie. I anywhere, even if it's to put the bins out, is a bit of a treat. This is the way my world has developed, and I've got after lunch. I've got a trip across Chelmsford, right, and it fills me with joy. How ridiculous! How ridiculous! Saw so many trips just disappear as things progressed. And the big trips, the big family trips, we had a lovely trip to France planned, and we seem to be cancelling these trips at the last minute. The minute that the government said, yeah, if you're going to go to France, you're going to have to isolate when you come back. Yeah. And then that fell apart there.
But you want to maintain the hope till the minute where you know it can't happen anymore, don't you? That's the thing.
Just so frustrating. And it's great. Everyone's kind of got these plans that we're hanging on to. Anywhere would be kind of top of the list. Family and friends, brilliant. But yeah, the trip to France, that's long overdue.
And that trip to the other side of Chelmsford sounds amazing, mate. I mean, just tell us what the weather's like over there, yeah? Just in case it's a bit different. And Cass is on. Hi, Cass. How are you? Oh, you're on mute.
Hi, you're right.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
I know where your first trip's going to be because we've spoken about this quite a lot. But do you want to tell everybody else?
Yeah, so I'm literally desperate to see my mum. So the last time we saw my family, all of my family live in Scotland, and the last time we saw them was August 2019. So it's been a very, very long time. So that will definitely be my first trip.
Yeah, hopefully sooner rather than later, right? But we'll see what happens with that.
Listen, as soon as Nicola says that the border's open, I'm in the car and I'm going.
Give me at least 2 hours notice though. Like let me know.
I've got a bag packed ready.
All right, good stuff. Okay, so let's talk a bit of business. What we'll do is we'll go around the room as we normally do, talk about what we do and share what's been going on in our world this week. And today we'll start with Fiona. Fiona, what's going on business-wise for you?
Well, you took me by surprise there again, Chris. Sorry. What's been going on for me? So I have been trying to write a blog. I know, weird, eh? And it's going to be about ethical investing. It's my personal drum that I bang. I'm also putting together my presentation that I'm doing for Havering Means Business as well, out of the bones of that blog. So it served two purposes. What else? I've been doing a lot of catch up this week. So I've had two clients, which has just enabled me to do some other stuff, which is great. It always feels really, relief. I can catch up. But yeah, basically that's been it. It's a boring life. What can I say? It's just one of those things, lockdown life, isn't it?
Yeah, it gets repetitive, doesn't it? And what it's funny because I've written a blog this week, and my blog was on taking financial advice from TikTok, because there was a news article that came out about these two unqualified, to put it politely, advisors not giving particularly good advice on TikTok. But it's interesting how social media can be an amazing tool to promote advice and promote good quality advice, but also it opens the floodgates for everybody else, doesn't it? That's the challenge.
Most definitely. And I think people would rather, I did a post about it a couple of weeks ago about taking advice from Uncle Herbert rather than a qualified financial advisor.
Yeah, or the bloke down the pub.
And it happens. It still happens. In fact, a particular client of mine who really will remain nameless, pulled out of his investments right at the bottom in March, despite me begging him not to. But he told me that his dad told him to. And so the man lost 600 quid, which in the grand scheme of things, isn't the worst, could have been worse. But then, you know, he wasn't happy about it and he wanted to know where it had gone. So what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky. We had, well, I mean, we went on a bit of a mission in March to just speak to every single client and say, this too shall pass. You shouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Taking action in times of high emotion is the worst thing you can do. You need to take that longer term view. And we had everybody but one client withdraw. And actually, the annualized, we're doing our reviews at the minute, the annualized returns in a volatile year have been 6 to 10%.
Yeah.
So actually, if people took good quality advice and just held on to
that's the key.
It is, yeah, longer term, you know, not reacting emotionally, making sure you do things sensibly. Thanks, Fiona, really appreciate that. And make sure you share that blog on Havering Means Business when it's written. It'd be good to read.
Yeah, we'll do.
Cool. Carol, talk to me about what's going on business-wise for you.
I can't believe what I'm about to say, because now I'm just being blinded by the sun, which is typical, because the snow has just driven us mad, basically. It's made us really behind because we can't make people do anything anyway, but there's no way we've wanted to go, our post people to go out while we've got icy pavements.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when we went out and about swapping over rounds by Wednesday, a lot of them were really behind. Then obviously there's been a few more days of it. I think it's cleared pretty much everywhere now, so they're back onto it. But yeah, it's just been driving us up the wall, really, getting up every day and seeing more snow on the pavement, which I know this isn't like me, because I'll try to be very positive, but it has been a pain. But yeah, just, sorry, I should have said, for those of you that don't know, we are a leaflet distribution business. So yeah, our people literally pound the pavements. But yeah, we've signed up a couple of small businesses this week. People that take on like Forever Living, that kind of thing. We've got a Forever Living campaign started, and even an Avon lady who's going to do some leaflets so that people that can then contact her and say that they want catalogues. So I think it's quite interesting, because in the past, that's the sort of thing where, you know, those businesses just couldn't really lay out the money, or didn't see that they would necessarily want to lay out the money to get their name out there. But yeah, really pleased.
And how long is it going to take to catch up, do you think? Is it going to be like a few days of really like sort of getting there, or is that going to sort of move on a bit?
I'm really hoping that everyone's going to go like the clappers over the weekend. So by next Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll all be caught up. But whether I'll be smiling on Tuesday and Wednesday, I don't know.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I mean, Carol, I haven't got to get out there and pound the streets, but I need to get some more miles under my belt. So just from a selfish perspective, I'm just hoping the snow clears so I can go out running again. But yeah, all good. Oh, Steve, sorry, we've got to have an element of run talk. So, Carol, have you been out Monday, Tuesday? Are you going to put me to shame?
I didn't go because there's no way I'm going to fall over and hurt myself. But someone on this group tried to kill me by Zoom last Saturday. Who do you think it was?
Look, look, we'll talk about that later. But the outdoor ones are worse, Carol. Just so you know. Just so that when we do go back, and I will be going back, we're both prepared. Steve, how's your week been business-wise?
I'll say it's been a long, tough week. I think this week. I think it's been one of those weeks where probably a lot of things I've wanted to get resolved quickly haven't quite come to fruition, which is a little bit frustrating, because we like to pride ourselves on our service, but we are finding that a lot of insurers are being a little bit lax in how quickly they turn stuff around, which ends up being a reflection on ERB, which obviously it shouldn't be. But yeah, I think it's just everybody has one of those weeks, and I think this week has been it for me. But other than that, it's finished on a bit of a high. We say we're all our clients are supporting ERB, and we're retaining all our connections, which is good. And yeah, other than that, so yeah, finished on a bit of a high.
Good stuff. Great.
And this is it. I mean, yeah. I mean, one of the cases I think is testament to where we are in the industry, that we've just had a client who just tied into a 3-year agreement with us. So, I think at this moment where the market's at, it is testament to what deals you can actually get agreed and over the line. So, and it's testament to the RB and how we do it. So.
Yeah, that commitment as well is a strong one. 3 years of saying, we're going to work with you is a definite testament. Cass is asking whether your challenges this week are down to our professional indemnity insurance, and knowing the emails that went back and forth on a Friday night and calls on a Saturday morning, I appreciate all the work you've put in, mate.
In fairness, it's not, Cassie, definitely not your fault by any stretch of imagination. Purely frustrating insurers that like to hide behind COVID as being a reason for whilst they kind of a bit slow when coming forward. But no, I mean, we get cases like this, so it's just the nature of the beast. Some ones are a little bit easier to get over the line, some are a little bit more problematic. But yeah, we'll get it.
Well, thanks for we got there in the end, mate.
No worries at all, mate. No worries at all.
Appreciate that. Ian, talk to me about what's going on in your world business-wise.
Well, last week, of course, I don't know if you've seen it on the social media post, but there was the first meeting of the Chelmsford City Chamber. That just surpassed our wildest dreams.
Yeah, I heard that was a good event. So you had about 75 people turn up, didn't you?
Yeah. So the event was fully booked out. 100 people booked tickets. There will be an event on Tuesday night as well. That was over 30 people for that. And I haven't even checked to see what's happening with the lunchtime meeting next Wednesday. But again, there's a real buzz about the chamber. So that's been really positive.
And clearly, because we spoke about this before, clearly in that area there's a demand, right? There's got to be. Yeah.
I mean, when I was more heavily involved with Brentwood Chamber, there were loads of people coming from the Chelmsford area to join Brentwood Chamber because they didn't have one themselves.
Gotcha.
And the groups, of course, that they have got in Chelmsford. I mean, Aaron Desmond's network in Essex. The Chelmsford Professionals, they're all fabulous groups, don't get me wrong, but none of them want to take that leap, seemingly, to work with the council as we want to do, in the hope that we become a fully accredited Chamber of Commerce. But
gotcha.
It's just a long road, and heavy in the documentation writing stage at the minute. So I've got burning fingers. They put all that down to me.
But the fact that there is that demand is a sure sign that you're on something. That's the key factor, isn't it? I think.
Absolutely.
Well done, mate. That's brilliant news. All good. Christine, talk to me about what's going on in your world business-wise.
Well, I think you know a little bit of what I've been up to this week, Chris.
I've seen the emails. Yeah? I've been told by Russ that I shouldn't get involved though. So I'm completely delegating responsibility now. Russ is the boss from here on in. I'll just, like Savello, I'll just be the rather unattractive face and I'll let everybody else do the work. Is that allowed?
You'll have to speak to Russ. So for those that don't know me, we do website design and digital marketing, and we're helping HMB with their website and sprinkling our magic for them for the copywriting. And then also like to share that this morning I spoke to one of our existing clients. So they are a company that has 4 divisions within it. So we built the site for the company, and there are 2 strong divisions, but there's a third one that kind of didn't give us too much when we first did the site, and about 6 months or so said, oh look, we'd like to build out some pages for this division, can we do that? And I've been monitoring them every month, and I kind of been given feedback, and personally I was a bit not worried, but because what they do is a service, but when you Google what they do, you end up with product competition. And so I spoke to them this morning about something else, and just, oh look, have you had a look at my last report? I've got some recommendations. Like, oh no, we're getting loads of inquiries, we're doing well, and we're really happy with what we've done. So I'm happy. I've got another happy, satisfied customer. So
great stuff, amazing work. So that's good news. It's interesting though, isn't it? Because and I suppose we've had this during the last year or so. Even if you're busy, you've always got to be focused on that marketing element, because it's when you're, that reflects to when you're not busy, doesn't it? So how do you get that balance right?
It's not putting it to the bottom of your to-do list.
Yeah.
It's putting it a little bit higher so it does get a bit of attention.
Yeah, spot on. No, I like that. Thanks, Christine. Really appreciate that. Thanks for all the work you're doing with HMB. We appreciate it. Simon, talk to me about what's going on in your world.
I had a one-to-one with someone who's on this call today. He didn't try, sorry, I shouldn't say he, but that person didn't try and kill me in the conversation.
You've given the game away now, Simon.
Yeah,
I know
I'm
who
really
it
rubbish
is.
at this game, aren't I? I'm really rubbish. For those people who don't know me, I work for an organisation called East London Business Place. We offer funded support. It's funded by a number of different arms, including Havering Council, to offer, in essence, free business support to SMEs within the borough and across London. The sort of things I've been focusing on, besides looking after myself and not killing myself by having one-to-ones, is really about collaboration. And there have been, one of my passions is if there is an opportunity to get two businesses to link, then we've been doing that. There seems to be a lot of that going on at the moment. We have our monthly meeting next Tuesday. And what we're trying to encourage is a representative from the council to turn up every month. And at the moment, we are able to get the head of interim head of business engagement to come along. So hopefully he'll be there. The other thing that was a highlight for me is I joined one of our webinars about Instagram. I'm not a specialist in Instagram, but I've learned a lot. Very good meeting, well attended, and some of those practical sessions can be very, very informative. So yeah, that's in essence what the week has looked like.
And in terms of the local authority's remit, so what is that guy's job? What's his, in terms of local business engagement, what is he tasked to do?
Primarily their main focus at the moment is making sure that people have access and are aware in terms of grants and things that are actually available to local businesses. One of the things that one of my colleagues has done in another London borough, which we will probably roll out as well, is more focused support in terms of completion of forms, not actually filling out the forms, but saying what's out available and what you might be entitled to and where to go in order to do it. But the thing to remember is there's lots of money out there, and if it's not used up, it will be returned to the government. So what I would strongly suggest is if you're not on there on the Havering newsletter, which normally comes out once a week, definitely subscribe to that. If you're not on the programme, or even if you are on the programme, is have a look at what we're doing through our events page on the Building Legacies website.
Thanks, Simon. Really appreciate that, mate. Julie Bell, what's going on in your world, business-wise?
We had our second action club this week. That's where the business owners come together once a fortnight and they go through any problems they've got. They follow a program of how they're going to implement the next strategies, their goals for the next fortnight. So we had a really good turnout for that. We had 15 people, so I was really, really pleased. I've got 2 opportunities to work with or to speak with accountants with regards to building strategic alliance next week. So I'm chuffed to bits with that. So it's just slow and steady.
Getting there. Consistency wins the race, right?
I just keep chipping away.
And I'm loving your videos at the minute. One in the snow. and yeah, just
about networking.
Yeah, I know there was one in the snow, and I know there was one. I'm just waiting for the next prop. I'm just waiting to see what's going to come up next. I'm excited about what it's going to be. So,
Chris,
so yeah,
I'm not going to lie, but as my daughter finished filming that, and I went to walk up on the grass, I felt
Yeah, the video was good, and if you want to publish the outtakes, I mean, I'm like I'm up for that, but you're under no obligation to.
Oh, I should have done then because she thought it was hilarious.
Thanks, Julie. Appreciate that. Phil, apart from killing Simon this week, and please tell me you made him do a few burpees. What you been up to?
To be fair, it's been really good. Other than the snow, I don't know if anyone else feels like this, but other than the snow, this week I've been kind of feeling quite buoyant. It feels like spring and everything kind of touching distance away. Although we've had the snow, we've had the blue skies and sunshine to meet it as well. So I've been feeling quite positive about the week as a whole. Feels like we could be turning a corner.
Yeah,
but yeah, in business, it's been good. The boot camps have been picking up. The community's been fairly vibrant. Lots of people engaging with each other, which is really good to see. It's half of the battle in terms of people staying upbeat, positive, and kind of getting into good routines. So it's been really good, and I've been having a few one-to-ones. Got a couple of other things booked in on that front as well. So yeah, it's been really positive.
Yeah, great stuff. No, and I definitely encourage sometimes. I know there's a lot of them going on at the minute, but certainly make sure that you're connecting with people who are open to connect, because that's where those deeper relationships and then potentially the business comes from. Kevin,
Absolutely.
talk to me about. I will talk to you about. I'm fascinated about this story about you on a beach at 3 o'clock in the morning, but we'll leave that for a time when we can meet for a drink. Talk me about how business is going. You're on mute, mate.
Right, it's been an interesting week this week. A little bit slow in the middle. It's recovered well. I think it's probably more of a snow side of it, whatever. Got a good appointment to look forward to this afternoon. We're getting more and more inquiries on tax planning, using lifetime mortgages tax planning. Very effective, especially where nil rate band will be down to minimum anything over 2.3 million. A couple of big ones in there, but also smaller ones. It's been a good balance. As you know, I'm quite community focused, stable experience, and got a couple of people really been helping on small loans, telling them mean excessive benefits they weren't aware of. So it's been a good mixture of what we know as advisors.
Yeah, and I think
good way of talking.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about this before, the sort of equity release as a tool to help people release money from their estate that they can potentially give to their kids a bit earlier. You've got to do the comparison between the interest you'd pay throughout the life of the loan, but it's certainly something that's always worth considering, isn't it?
Oh, with most interest rates now below 3%, any investment growth, you're a flexible trust, will now accept whatever, you've got a good opportunity to compare. So 3% or 40%, it's not a bad return for a start. And if it's a pleasure you can give to your family if you want to.
Yeah, spot on. Okay, thanks, Kevin. And where are the cases coming from at the minute? Where's work coming from for you?
Mixture. There are a lot of introducers, like you'll be aware of. I'm always open to further. So any one-to-ones, etc. If you're welcome to a conversation there. A lot of wealth managers and solicitors. They're the main two sources at present. So we're doing well on that side. Thank you.
And Nick, before you get the opportunity to talk to us about what you do and how you help both businesses and individuals, talk to me a little bit about your business, travel plans, and then we can go into your presentation and talk about how you help people get better at a really important skill, presenting in this new world.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, and great to hear from everybody. It all sounds like you're battling through weeks that in theory could be quite negative, and always finding the positive in that. So yeah, God, life has changed, right? So I used to be a human communication specialist that specifically dealt with enhancing interactions. And the big news was face-to-face interactions are better than any other style of interactions. And then suddenly things happened in the world, and all of the the travel that I was doing, all of the workshops that I was doing, all of that magical stuff where you turn up in a room with a load of people and have a great kind of morning, all started to disappear. So I had to ask myself some serious questions about what happens to human communication when we are thrust into an environment that doesn't necessarily lend itself to us being as amazingly human as we know that we can be. So it's been a real challenge since March. It's been a challenge because the business has had to kind of be not necessarily reinvented, but the focus has changed. Still a massive believer in human first communication, but that's looked slightly different, hence the kind of the subject of the talk today. But business is good. The training business is, oddly enough, it's had a good year.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a real hunger for something that's slightly different, and the tools to help us out, kind of because there's so much competition and noise, and it's quite difficult to separate us from similar businesses at the moment.
Yeah, but I suppose all businesses, large and small, are looking to communicate effectively, aren't they? You know, it's that and doing it in an environment that we're all getting used to.
Yeah, and the thing I've found over the last, let's say, 9 months is those people that are succeeding most are remembering one key thing, and that's what are us humans good at? And those people that are kind of falling into the pot of mass and noise are just forgetting that the tech can't do it all. All right, and it's a massive difference between hiding behind the technology and allowing that to do most of the work, which we've found over the last few years. You know, if you sit on your ass and send emails all day, it's not a very productive day. Okay, but if you reach out and you have conversations, it feels better, and over the long term is much better for your business. So there are a lot of people that kind of need a bit of a shake. And I've worked with lots of different teams this year, and that shake is a load of fun, because it's a lot more fun being kind of human than it is just hiding behind the tech. It's been enlightening as well. So I'm going to share today. I'm going to share some very human strategies that I think a lot of people are forgetting to use when they interact.
And before we do that, and in the interest of understanding a bit more about you as a human, talk to me about family, travel plans, and what made you become an expert in human communication.
Yes, so cut a very long story short. So I'm a dad, right? I got 2 kids. My lovely wife has got 2 kids of her own. So they're growing up, but always kind of had a very busy home kind of environment. But I do love to break away from that and immerse myself into a working space. All right, so there's 2 sides to my life. There's the family side, really important, and the business side, which I absolutely love. Been running a training company for 16 years. It's evolved. I used to sell a load of technology, oddly enough, that went into boardrooms that help people communicate better. And it soon dawned on me, right, you can put really cool screens on the wall, and you can create really funky audio-visual stuff. And then up pops somebody to present or communicate, and they let the technology down because they're rubbish. And more and more the conversations were aimed at, yeah, but what do I do? How do I do my bit better? And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. You can forget your screens, you forget your boardroom fit out. What really fascinates me is what makes your bit of the communication really, really impactful. And the business morphed into being focused about people, the psychology of communication. How do we do it really, really well? Okay, and the beauty of it is, right, we don't need the flash cool stuff in a boardroom. We've got all the skills that we need. we just forgot about them along the way. These superpowers, these human superpowers. Oh my God, we've always had them, but somewhere along the way we forgot we had them. So I do love to travel. I'm really missing the annual snowboard trip this year. A couple of the guys that we go with every year, right? Snowboard trip. It's a bit chaotic, but it's magical. It's a huge escape. Two of the guys live now where we go snowboarding. Okay, they're gonna have to come back in March because the rules have changed. But they're sending videos of totally deserted slopes and areas that, if you've ever been skiing, you know, are very, very busy, and there's just no one. There's no one around. The conditions are good. It's
can they, if they live there, can they still get out and about and snowboard, or are the slopes closed?
Yeah, the lifts are closed, so it's quite a walk.
Yeah,
it's probably a 2-hour walk for a 10-minute snowboard. But just to see kind of you know, a big metaphor that I use in my work is zombies. Again, I'll talk about that in a moment. But it's a bit like the Armageddon's happened, right? All the humans are gone, and the slopes have been left to their own devices. It's really weird, really weird. So yeah, I'd like to be there, experiencing some of that weird stuff.
Yeah. Okay, great stuff. So do you want to talk to us about how you can help the people in this group and the people watching on the Facebook page communicate better?
Yeah, so I'm going to share some content in a minute, just a few slides to kind of reinforce and illustrate the points that I'm making. But so yeah, I work with teams and individuals to enhance how they communicate, but it's predominantly how they communicate human to human. All right, that could be just one-to-one, or that could be one to a group. So it works really, really well with teams, and it really works really well with those individuals that have got a powerful message to share, but find that it's being lost in all the noise. They're drowning in all of that noise that's out there. It's very difficult these days to make sure that your message, your unique bit of communication, actually gets through to your audience amongst all of the noise. So I'll share some content, if that's all right. I'll share it now, and we'll talk through. Hopefully it'll spark some conversations. Hopefully you'll metaphorically throw stuff at me, and we'll have a talk about it, and we'll just see how we can make these strategies incredibly real for you. So let's see if we can work the tech, right, to start with. Let's share some stuff. Here we go. Right. Can you help me out and tell me what you can see at the moment? Because my screen's black. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, we can see the presentation's on.
Right, you can say, okay, hold on. I can't see you, you're on the other screen now. Blooming technology. Hold on. All right, well, if I just ignore the tech, I'll just crack on. Right, what if I do this? Chris, can you just see the presentation, yeah?
Yeah, that's
okay.
on.
Right, so it looks like a proper presentation.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay, brilliant. Fantastic. Okay, so it's an odd title, right? It's an odd place to start. When is a presentation not a presentation? Okay, and the answer to that is when it's delivered online. So part of my world, I used to speak at events. Okay, and hopefully that will come back again because I absolutely love it. And when you speak at an event, chances are you're on stage. It's a formal thing. There's a big audience, but you're quite separate from the audience. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to present the best we can, but online it's totally different. Okay, wouldn't it be great, right, if every time we communicated online, we could inject more human into it? All of our online interactions were flavored with more human. And that way our audience will pay more attention, they'll understand our content more, believe what we've got to say, and most importantly, act on what it is we're trying to communicate. And the thing is, we used to be incredibly good at that, but we've seemed to have forgotten some of our power. We've allowed the technology to pick up a lot of the weight, whereas actually it's a human job. The tech's brilliant, right? And brilliant. Look, we wouldn't be able to do this without it, but it's kind of designed more for transactional interactions. whereas us humans are brilliant at the relationship side. And we've never ever been more connected, but we lack what I would refer to as real connection. So a few years ago, I wrote a book all about us, all about how we communicate, and I called it Modern Zombies. Okay, and I made two mistakes when I did that. First of all, first mistake was the title, right? Us, we don't like being called zombies, okay, which made me smile. The second mistake was writing a book, right? People don't read anymore. So the Audible version followed soon after. Okay, so it still massively resonates. Okay, and the gist behind the book is, and the trip across Chelmsford I've got this afternoon, the joy in that is I get out of the house, and a client I've worked with wants copies through his entire organization. So that's lovely, right? So the book still resonates. But the gist is we've moved from a world in which empathy, rapport, and that's human resonance were massively important, but we've traded them in for things that are cheap, easy, and convenient. And if you wish, you can add efficient onto that. So we think cheap, easy, convenient, and efficient is working for us, but it isn't. Okay, it turns out communicating, especially online, is really difficult. And we know this is the case because we've fell in love with our devices, all right, and they stole the empathy, the rapport and resonance from us, okay, and we've relied on them to do a lot of the communicating for us. And I used to be a massive people watcher, and then I became a people photographer. It sounds like I've turned into a stalker, but I was busy around the country, and instead of just watching people turn more into zombies, I started taking photos, and then I started putting these photos on the screen when I was talking at events. Then people started sharing their photos with me, and more I became convinced that we're becoming zombies that are lost without our personal devices. What happens is, and this is an issue for us when we're trying to communicate, is we're overwhelmed. Right? There's never been so much stuff. We're drowning in all that noise. Okay, we're incredibly busy, but we're struggling to maintain our focus. It's referred to as a cognitive overload. Right? Crazily, one of the busiest courses I deliver at the moment is a course on time and attention management. Right? It's how do we maintain the attention that we need on the important stuff? Because chances are you are surrounded right now between notifications, emails, all sorts of stuff online, and masses of competing social media. But overwhelm has a evil twin, which is underwhelm, right? Most of the stuff that we're bombarded with is rubbish, right? Just tedious, okay? Massively tedious. And we have a lack of capacity for our attention. So we're getting very used to very short bursts of information, and we're not as good as filtering as we should be. So what are we going to do about it? Okay, so this is what communication looked like. Okay, and it does look like this still if you're very lucky. But what do we see? Okay, we see two people. Okay, we see some focus. We see some body language, mirroring and matching. Okay, of course, we see some social distancing, but you can almost sense that the rapport is building, there's empathy there, and without even listening in, you can probably sense some resonance. Okay, but most of our communication now looks like this. Okay, so what else do we see? Okay, we're a bit overloaded. We've got a screen full of information. Okay, but there are distractions everywhere. Chances are most of these conversations are happening on our devices that we're using for work as well. And emails, doesn't matter if you turn them off, they still want to pop in to your screen. And you've probably got your phone pretty close as well. And the thing is, it's really easy to spot when other people are distracted, because your eyes will disappear off the screen, or you'll see people tapping on their keyboards. Okay, so from a communicator's point of view, it's really difficult to make sure that engagement is going on. So instead of presenting, okay, you can forget some of the rules of presenting, because the skills we now need communicating online are enhanced conversations. Conversations are different from a presentation. Okay, they differ in many, many ways, but some of the key ways are conversations. We don't often or ever write down what we're going to have in our conversation. Right? If we were doing a presentation, chances are we write it out first, we fill slides with bullet points, okay, that kind of guides us where we're going. Conversation is far more human, more relaxed, it's smaller, it's more intimate, and it cries out for these human things, which is the empathy and the rapport. So how do we have an enhanced communication conversation? First of all, consider simplicity. Okay, let's battle what's called the curse of knowledge and help our audiences understand what it is we're trying to communicate. So that curse of knowledge, right, we all suffer from it. It's the issue that we have, that it's very difficult to remember what it was like before we knew the stuff we now know. So in the world of finances, it's very difficult for someone who works in finances to remember a time before they knew all that cool stuff about how numbers and finances work. So to make your content as simple as possible without dumbing down, you've got to try and think of a time which no longer exists really, before you knew all of that stuff. And it forces you to prioritize the key things that you want to communicate. It's kind of called the commander's intent, that idea that no plan survives contact with the enemy, right? The commander's intent is the ultimate goal, the ultimate thing that you are looking to achieve when you communicate, your one core key message. So for this 20 minutes, it would be for you to enhance your on-screen conversations and inject your beautiful human superpowers into that. So whatever happens, out of all of the stuff we talk about, all of the strategies and techniques we explore, that's the key thing to take away, right? In future, your online conversations will be massively enhanced because you'll inject more of the human superpowers. One of the ways we can make it simple is we can use schemas. Right, these are amazing mental shortcuts. Okay, it's schemas, we all have them, right? They're the brain's way of sifting through a lot of information and not having too much clogging our heads. Let's take the schema of a door. Okay, we all know what a door is. We know what they look like. We know how they work. Okay, but we do come across many different types of door in our travels. But that's okay, because we've got the schema of a door. Roughly, we know what doors do and how they work. So it doesn't matter if we come across a new door, we can still open the thing. Okay, we still know how it works. Use phrases "it's like" to help your audience understand, and use these schemas if you can. So we have a schema, for example, what a meeting looks like, okay, or a film. If you went to a film, we know what that kind of looks and feels like. If you went to a sports event, we know what that kind of looks and feels like. Date night, we know what that looks and feels like. Okay, all of our audience know those things. So there should be plenty of things that we can refer to. It's like this. And then when we say it's like this, ideally we hook on to some of the schemas, so it's easier for our audience to get it, to understand the stuff that we're talking about. I delivered a talk a while back now, seems a while back, with a group of students at Colchester Uni. And I was talking about the difference between an email culture and a messaging culture. And they were kind of looking at me like I was an old man, right? Looking at emails. You know, and quite rightly so, right? They're dismissive of emails. And it was like, yeah, we don't use emails, old man. All right, we're the messaging generation. And then it occurred to me, I thought, well, yeah, that's true. But you wish, there'll come a time you'll wish you were the email generation, because messaging will just absolutely trounce emails with regards to the amount of volume of noise there is. So, and at the point, there was a stat saying, well, there's already been, in certain formats, 1 trillion messages sent and received. And they looked at me quite rightly, 1 trillion, wow, big number, but don't really know how big. So I had to come up with some form of, well, it's like schema style explanation, what 1 trillion looks like. Okay, so imagine at the end of this, the event today, right? We had a raffle and whoever won gets a jet, right? Cool, right? I'm glad I attended, right? Because I went online and you win a jet, right? And your jet flies at the speed of sound, right? Speed of sound, 343 meters a second, which is 767 miles an hour, right? Whoosh, okay? Sounds really fast, right? If you do your park run at the speed of sound, you'll get round in under 15 seconds. So there's a schema, right? Anyone who's ever run the park run knows what that looks like. 15 seconds, that's a fast park run. If you run a marathon at the speed of sound, it's going to take you just over 2 minutes. Right? Another schema, okay? Wow, that's a very quick marathon. Right, but your jet, right, traveling at the speed of sound, has got a dollar dispenser on the back of it. Weird, huh? Right, so as fast as you fly, dollar bills are being dispensed out the back of your jet. And you're flying at the speed of sound, and the dollars are come flying out the back of your jet. To get rid of $1 trillion, you need to be flying for 14 years at the speed of sound. That's what 1 trillion looks like. Okay, difficult concept. However, if you think about it and work hard at it, you can apply schemas and things that your audience already get to help them understand. Which raises the question, how do you really explain what your business does in a human way? And the way we should do that is, well, it's like this. Okay, it's like when, you know, that case when, well, this is what we do when it looks like that. So consider what your clients take away from that interaction. What do they talk about? What do they do next? So 3 years commitment to insurance, right? That's a great story, okay? So what do they take away? They take away that self-assurance, the lack of kind of issues 1 year after the next. What do they talk about? They talk about kind of being rest assured, being well looked after. So these are the sorts of ways you can communicate in a human way that hooks in to your audience's already existing schemas. And we've got to work a bit harder at helping our audience understand our stuff. So wherever possible, we should avoid abstraction, you know, that kind of technical speak, the jargon that we perhaps would use, and try and find more of a universal or concrete language. It's like this, or it's like when that happens. What does it look, my favorite question, what does it look and feel like? And as soon as you can answer what it looks and feels like, you're getting somewhere towards making it really understandable for your audience. Imagine if we were trying to explain what a ladybird was to a couple of kids, right? We wouldn't really benefit from talking science. We need to talk in a language that they understand. So a ladybird, right? Pretty weird, not a bird, not a lady. Okay, but it's a bit like a Smartie, but don't eat it, right? Because this Smartie's got legs. Oh, by the way, it can fly. All right, and you start exploring what does the language kind of look and feel like for this particular audience. And one of the big tricks we miss is a lot of our content. We should inject into that something that's unexpected. So was it? Julie, your video in the snow, that outtake that you slip in the humor associated with that, very unexpected from an audience point of view, massively, massively memorable. Okay, so the unexpected stuff really gets the audience to pay attention, which is tough in our ocean of noise. Okay, so anything that you can do that's unexpected will break this human pattern that we have. Us humans get very, very, we adapt very quickly to consistency. Okay, and if you break that pattern, we sit up and take notice. Our brain's very aware of change. So surprise gets people's attention, and then the interest keeps it. Okay, so imagine that outtake was right at the beginning of the video. Okay, you've hooked your audience with something that's humorous and fun, and then you can explain or explore your key points. If we violate the audience's schemas of what they think it's going to be like, we're onto a winner. Okay, so presentations, we know what the format normally is, but what if you said, right, the presentation 20 minutes, I'm going to do it in 5. Okay, as a surprise, that's going to be different. What if it's not a presentation, we're now going to play a game, or actually it's not a presentation, I want to take you on a bit of a mystery tour. And then suddenly there's a lot of unexpected aspects to the conversation. And as soon as you introduce a gap in the knowledge of your audience, they want it filled, right? So it's the same reason, okay, we tend to watch really bad films to the end. Okay, us humans, we're ridiculous, right? We want to know what happens. As soon as there's a gap in our knowledge, we want that to be filled. And it might be absolutely rubbish, but chances are we watched it to the end just to see who did it or what happened. And don't forget to allow some emotion, okay? Hence, what does it feel like for your audience? A lot of our communication aims at kind of an analytical frame of mind, which focuses our audience to think. But if we open up a bit of an emotional frame of mind, it allows our audience to feel. And for our audience to take action, which we want them to do, they need to care about our stuff, right? And when I talk about modern communication and mobile technology specifically, I talk about the harm it's doing to our younger audience. It's doing harm to us as well, but massive implications for our younger audience. And I talk about it being similar in damage to smoking during pregnancy, right? Back then, we didn't know how destructive smoking during pregnancy was. And I think there'll come a time in the future where we'll look at these mobile devices that we thrust into our kids' hands as soon as they go to senior school, and we'll look back and realize how dangerous and destructive that was, similarly to how we look back at smoking during pregnancy. So consider how you tap in to what your audience care about. Use the word you. Plenty. If we're talking about insurance, talk about the stuff that you are interested in, that you want to protect. If we're talking about finances, talk about the stuff that's important to you and your loved ones, and generate some of that emotional feel. And then please, my big implore to the audience is tell more stories. Please tell more stories, right? We love them, right? Us humans, we love a story, okay? Not a rambling 15-minute thing, just a punchy 2-minute illustration of your key points, right? Prove your point, illustrate your point with a 2-minute illustration, okay? We're brilliant at them, okay? We're great at telling them, and we're great at remembering them, and they help your audience to act once your information has sunk in. Okay, and the reason this is because every time you refer in your stories to, let's say, a different emotion, a different sense, it's like fireworks going off in the brain. If we just talk about stuff, content, small part of the brain responsible for remembering that, But if we talk about lots of different kind of senses, different parts of the brain are responsible for processing. Hence, it's like fireworks going off in the mind. That's why stories are so easy to remember and retell. And they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant at generating rapport and overcoming any resistance, whether that resistance is conscious or unconscious. We love a real anecdote or story. Now, your 2-minute stories, they need just enough color. Okay, who was there? What did it look like? A few names, maybe. How did it feel? Just enough color. And then you've got to get to the point. Okay, so no need to hang around, get to the point and know what the point is for your stories. Know why you're telling that particular story. And if you tell stories, all right, good news is you can charge more for your products, okay, your services. If you tell stories, if you sell wine, for example, if we went to the shops now and bought a bottle of wine, we'd turn the wine around and it had a story of where it was made and the family, a bit of family history and a bit of a story about the wine, how it was created, that could be more expensive. If we sell goods on eBay and have a bit of a story associated with it, it's been in our family for this long, we've really enjoyed it because, and we tell a story, we can charge more for that product. So if I dig out 2 cereals from my cupboard, okay, please don't judge me, right? I've got some Lizzie's low sugar granola in my cupboard, and I've got some Kellogg's Crunchy Nut, probably not so good for you, brand leading product. However, right, for some reason, Lizzie in a low sugar granola is charging me more than, let's say, the brand leader. Why? How come? How come I'm paying more for Lizzie's stuff, right? Well, if you turn the packages round, with the Kellogg's, you get nutritional information plus a bit of advertising. You turn Lizzie round, nutritional information, of course, but then you get Lizzie's story. And it started when she was making granola in her B&B back in the 80s, right? That might not even be Lizzie, right? I'm assuming it is, right? And the story might not be true, but I'm also assuming that is true, right? But it feels as though I know her, okay? And it feels like this is what it was like to create the granola back in the day, and she's charging me more money for it and I'm paying it, okay, because I feel more attached and associated to Lizzie's product. I'm even calling it Lizzie's. I don't even know who Kellogg is. I guess Mr. Kellogg, I haven't got a picture of Mr. Kellogg, so I can't make the same associations with that product compared to Lizzie's. So consider, what are your stories, right? And you've got them. You've got loads of stories. It's a bit like being put on the spot and saying, right, you're funny, tell me a joke. I can't think of any. Stories, you've got to kind of sit down and work out, what stories do I tell for this, for this, for this, for this, for this. And you'll have hundreds, right? If you've got kids, you know, you've got loads of stories. If you've ever been up a mountain, you've got loads of stories. If you've ever run a race, you've got loads of stories. They don't have to be business related, but they could illustrate points that you're trying to make in a business context. So a whistle-stop tour through a host of stuff. And we've got time for some questions. I'm going to come out of the screen now, and hopefully I'll be able to see you all again. Right? We've got time for some questions, and then hopefully we'll spark a few conversations. Right, I've got a blank screen. Chris, fill in for me while I try and make my tech.
Yeah, so I'll start while you switch your screen off, Nick. I'll start with the first conversation. At the minute, the digital world is what we're reliant on to communicate. But one of the things that I've tried to do over the last couple of years is just manage my digital environment in a bit of a better way, so that it's not so much of a distraction. Share with me your thoughts about how you might advise people to do that.
So yeah, oddly enough, the tech's pretty good at this, right? So the technology companies have started to sit up and take notice that we are massively, massively distracted. There was a long time where they were stealing our eyeballs and doing it on purpose, still doing it, right? Facebook's still the best at stealing your eyeballs. You go on to check. So we go on to see what's going on, okay, at the live event. And then we don't, when the live event finishes, we don't leave Facebook and crack on with our business day. We scroll down, and then there's something else leads to something else. Before we know it, an hour's gone past, and we're watching somebody's cat. We don't even know who they are, just falling asleep on a sofa. And, you know, it's eaten our time. So most of our devices will have a do not disturb function, we'll have a timer function, we'll have functions if we explore, will enable us to separate the time that we need. This is business time and this is my relaxed time. Okay, so we separate our chunks of time.
Yeah.
For me, the easiest way is just scrolling up and hitting airplane mode on my device, right? And it dawned on me a little while ago. Okay, airplane mode in theory was designed for those people who were getting on planes, right? Who were going to fly. Turns out actually it's designed for those people who really want to fly, nothing to do with a plane. Right? If you really want to fly in life and business, then scroll up and hit airplane mode, crack on with the stuff that's really important, and then go back and catch up.
It's focus mode, isn't it? Not airplane mode. It's focus mode. Spot on. Has anybody else got any? So Fiona's got a question, so we'll go with Fiona.
That was brilliant, Nick. Really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
In terms of getting in front of people, whether it's online or human, nerves are still real. So face-to-face, I was given some really good advice about presenting to people, and that is make the decision to enjoy it. I just found that so powerful, and it works.
Mm-hmm.
Can you still use that online? Or are there some other tactics that you would recommend?
So great suggestion. Okay. We like doing business and communicating with people that are fun, okay, and who seem to be enjoying themselves. Enthusiasm is infectious. It's a bit more difficult online to spread that enthusiasm, but we can. Okay. It just needs to be a little bit bigger than what we're kind of getting used to. The body language doesn't come into it as much as it would if we were doing the face-to-face stuff, but you can up the ante a little bit, especially with our voices. Okay, and this is kind of odd, right? We've all got the same tools available to us, but rarely do you come across someone who's talking with such enthusiasm that they're unleashing the velvet in their voice, and the speed changes and the pitch changes, and you can see how excited and how into their content that they are, right? And I'm assuming our stuff's good, right? So we've got lots of cool stuff to talk about and share. Okay, and that's why I think it's helpful to move away from this idea that we're presenting online and having conversations, because a conversation is in theory less nervy, right? It doesn't have to be formal. Okay, it doesn't matter if I'm wearing my slippers, it's all cool, right? I've just got some great information to share about product. So your blog, for example, and your presentation that you're building, okay, think about your audience from the perspective of, okay, what really works for them? What do they really want to hear about? And then get really enthused about, actually, I can help you with that stuff. And if it's good, why wouldn't we want to scream about it?
You know what's interesting, Fiona? The starting point for me on that, and I don't know if we've spoken about this before. Funny enough, Richard Curtis at the minute, the Love Actually guy, has got a campaign to make sure that the money that we invest for our financial future is it's that little video is really, really good. Yeah, and he's an amazing storyteller, isn't he, Richard Curtis? So definitely. You'd learn from that. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Julie? Yeah, sure.
It was really interesting. I've made quite a few notes actually. I've been doing a few little videos, again, sort of business related. How long do you think really they should last before people would say, oh God, I'm not watching this anymore. I know a lot of it's down to content, and I do try to be imaginative.
I haven't noticed, Julie. Is that, yeah, you talking about the bush now? Are we talking about we're back to the bush, are we?
Yeah, the thing is, we could probably answer that question for ourselves by a quick LinkedIn experiment, right? And LinkedIn will play a bit of a video probably without the sound, and you can tell instantly whether it's going to be worth watching or not. And we're so overloaded, and infinite scrolling hasn't helped because it's so easy to go on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. I think if you aim for 2 minutes of high impact video, it's not too much to ask. Anything more, and you've got to really question how good is my stuff. Okay, if you can't get your message across in 2 minutes, like a story, if your story rambles longer than 2 minutes, okay, you've got to ask yourself your question, am I adding stuff that I don't need to add? All right, put yourself in your audience's shoes. Just go online and check out a few videos and see at what point you're switching off.
It's interesting, isn't it? We've experimented with video in our business for a few years now. And we used to do like 20-minute videos that nobody ever watched. And when we moved to the format where we were trying to make a concise point in a minute, that's when we started to get a lot of video engagement. But trying to tell a story that concisely or make a point that concisely is difficult. So what's your tip on how to do that effectively?
So if you know what the point is, start with the point, right? What's the point of telling this particular story? Okay, and it's ideal, it's your story. Okay, you were there, you know what it's like, you know what it felt like. Okay, what are the minimum amount of stuff that I need to share to allow my audience to know what it was like, right? What it felt like, just enough detail, but always aiming with the point. Okay, this is the point I'm telling the story, just enough detail so you feel invested. Okay, and if it's your story, you were there, okay, you know the impact behind it. Okay, so you're going to tell it with enthusiasm, even if you've told it many times before. Okay, rehearse it. Sounds weird, right? Rehearse your own stories, rehearse it and see if you can tell that story in 2 minutes, or is it a 5-minute story? If it's 5 minutes, what are you going to cut out? What bits don't we need to know to get to that point? And it takes some practice, but if it's a quality story and making a quality point, worth of practice.
Yeah. We've got time for one more question. Who would like to ask? Anybody else? No, that's it. That was Nick. That was really, really good. Thank you for that. That point you made about schemas was amazing, because that, comparison, I think can benefit every business, can't it? How do we simplify it using things that people understand fully? So thank you so much for that. Really appreciate that. Just a quick message from people who are watching on the Facebook Live. Hi, Julian. Hi, Ross. Thanks for watching on the Facebook Live. We really appreciate it. They wanted to thank Christine from Perfect Layout because they've been doing some work together, and they wanted to publicly thank Christine for the work they're doing. So all good. So I appreciate you watching on the Facebook group. We'll go round. We'll finish off as we normally do on our Friday meetings with wins of the week. And I know that thanks, Nick. And I know that it's been a challenging week for Carol, but what's been your biggest win?
Yeah, I think I'm always guilty of it. I always end up saying my wins at the start because I'm all excited. But yeah, just really encouraged by seeing some different sectors coming through that I mentioned about, like Forever Living in Avon. That's the sort of thing that in the past, the people just wouldn't have done leaflets, or they would have tried to do some of their own.
But there's something interesting there. There's something interesting there about the way we're changing out the way we work, isn't it? Because the Avon, you assume, was communicated at parties, like that was one of the routes to market, wasn't it? And they can't do that anymore.
Yeah, and it's just a chance. I think more and more people are doing these things as well as more and more people are at home, maybe with a bit more time. We've still got our estate agent going strong that's been with us since the very start, one of our first customers. That's amazing. So yeah, just lots of wins, to just things to be grateful for.
Amazing. Thanks, Carol. Simon, what's your big win?
Besides unmuting myself, and not being told to being reminded to unmute myself.
That's always a win, mate. Always a win.
Well, I could say the business bingo card, but that wouldn't be very fair because I've not mentioned pivoted and stuff like that for a while. There's a couple of clients that we've brought on board who have been umming and ahhing. They're well-connected people, but couldn't see necessarily the benefit of joining the program, but they've thought about it, and thankfully for the people they network with who've put in some good words about what we do and how we do it, they've actually thought about the value that it could bring to them, and we've had some new registrations as a result of it. So
yeah, I mean, we had a conversation when I sort of started working with you guys about whether we needed it as a business. But certainly having the relationship with you and Glenn and the other guys in the team has certainly benefited Savella over the years. So thank you, we appreciate it. Julie, what's your big win? Two things I want to know. What's your big win, and what prop are you going to bring to the next video?
I'm not telling you, Chris.
You're going to keep it secret, right? Oh, Julie, what am I going to do? I've been thinking about that all weekend now.
Yep, I'm not going to tell you.
Right.
My biggest win, obviously, was having such a good crowd on to our Action Club. We got some last-minute people through, and we've had emails just saying how much they've enjoyed it and how much it's given them sort of food for thought. So, yeah, that's my biggest win this week.
Good stuff. Fiona, talk to me about your big wins.
It's quite hard to say if they were big or not. I'd say they're smallish to middle-sized. I'm just really liking now social media. I mean, I'm not of that generation, but my like for it's been reawakened by employing someone to do it for me and looking at how wonderful a job they do. I just can't sing this lady's praises enough. I mean, she's just amazing at what she does. Her name's Frances Barrett, Jelly Bean Social. If you need social media management, I just feel like just go for it. In terms of, you know, what she can bring and, you know, how she kind of portrays me as a person as well. She just totally got it. So so that's my big win, and a big shout out for her. She's brilliant. So
Frances is an active member of Avery Means Business. We all love Frances at HMB, and I've been seeing your posts, and they do convey your personality, which is brilliant. Yeah, really, really good. So yeah, Frances is doing a really, really good job. So thanks, Fiona, that's really good. Kevin, talk to me about what's going on wins of the week wise in your world.
Wins of the week this week, Chris, been unusual. I've been learning being a little bit more patient at times, and things will still come through. Patience has been a win this week, most definitely. Yeah, happy on that. That's the biggest one. Not to step everything and overthink it. Just be a bit patient and sometimes step back.
Yeah, well, interestingly, I've learned that sometimes I need to be less patient this week, because I got a couple of weeks ago. I was talking about a complaint I had to make on behalf of one of my clients, and we got the head of a large financial institution to take ownership of it this week, because we. It
wasn't Aviva, was it, mate?
It was Aviva. You know, look, credit where credit's due. Credit where credit's due. Alistair McQueen, who's their head of pensions, got in touch personally and said, "Leave it with me, I'm on it." Again, there's an argument whether you should have to get to a point where you're publicly outing people, but if they sort it now, I'm happy. But you're right, sometimes these things take longer than you want, right?
Yep, so true.
Yeah. Ian, talk to me about your big win.
Well, for me, Chris, one of the clients I've been working with, where I was expecting to finish in March, we pretty much agreed an even stronger involvement with each other right the way through for another year. So that's really brilliant.
Yeah, so they've committed to work with a longer term relationship, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And I think my wins are Havering Means business continues to grow as a group, and we're doing really well. My little hobby, the Kindness Project, the podcast I host with my daughter Charlotte, hit 70,000 downloads this week. So I'm really happy about that. And we're going to have a little party when it gets to 100,000. So we're certainly going to celebrate that. And business at Savello is continuing to be as busy as ever. So that's all good. Nick, talk to me a little bit about what your wins are this week.
It's been a good week. I finally got the thumbs up on a tender that I applied for. All very formal, but yet it's very, very rare that I tender for anything. And it's very, very rare that I ever get a success. But yeah, I once in a blue moon got it's a year/2-year contract with a client, dependent upon funding, which is lovely. My trip this afternoon, to get out of the blue, someone I've worked with to say, can you come along and give books to the entire organization, which is great. And we cut Amazon out of the deal, which is brilliant.
Good stuff. That's good news. Okay, thank you for everybody for being here today. Nick, thanks for coming along. We've got some members coming to present over the next few weeks, which I'm really excited about. But one thing I'm really excited about, one of my clients, actually, a guy called Tony Barrett, is the MD of a company called Investors in Customers. Now, one of the things that we're looking at the minute at Savello is our customer experience when we bring people on board and how we make sure we look after them throughout the journey of working with us. And Tony is going to be really insightful in terms of that. So once we've got the date for Tony to come to the meeting, I'll let everybody know. But if your business is reliant on making sure that your clients are happy, and I think all businesses are, that'll be one that you don't want to miss. But thank you, everybody. Speak to you soon and have a lovely weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
See you, everybody. Bye.